Let's open up the mailbag. We'll get into the buyout market, the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown duo, and Tatum in the clutch. The reliance on three-pointers is a popular topic, and the NBA belt. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, Keith John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekend when they play. So make sure you are subscribed on whichever podcasting app you love to use. Watch the show on YouTube if you'd like. Hop into the comment section. Let me know what you think. Fight the Miami Heat fans who came flying into the comment section yesterday after me saying that the Rozier trade was good. This is what I'm saying about Miami Heat fans. I said the Rozier trade was good. I don't know if it's going to put them above Boston right now, but I said it was good. And Miami tends to get the most out of these guys. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. And they took it as some sort of slight. They took it as some sort of disrespect because they're Miami Heat fans on YouTube. So go ahead, go fight them. Please help me fight that battle in the comment section. By the way, I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. So if you're new to the show, that's who I am. I know who you are. You're a huge Celtics fan that wants Celtics coverage on a daily basis. Today's show brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. It's a mailbag day. The Celtics are off. They're in Miami. So not much coming out of practice in Miami. So figured mailbag would be great. You want to send a question into the mailbag? It's johnkaralis.com/mailbag. That's how you do it. It's the only way I'm going to answer these questions. It's the only way I organize the questions. So I'm sorry if you sent it on Twitter. I'm sorry if you sent it in the comments. This is how I do it. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. So let's dive in. Manny says, do you think getting Gordon Hayward on a buyout would be a better fit than O'Shea Brissett or even just for the team? Let's add in Ed, who says any possibility Bruce Brown makes his way to the Celtics at the trade deadline or after the season. Lots of buyout trade stuff. A lot of names being thrown around. I'm not sure that the Celtics are going to do much, but they are in a position to do something, right? So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that big. So let's get some of the rules out here with the buyouts and the trades. You got to remember certain things. I'm giving you the rules so you can kind of almost answer your own questions. Gordon Hayward on a buyout. No, cannot be done. Boston Celtics are over the second apron. They cannot sign anybody that makes more than the mid-level exception before they got cut. So a guy like Gordon Hayward who makes like 30 plus million, whatever he makes, it makes more than the mid-level, which is 12.4 million. When you're thinking about, can we get this guy if he's bought out? Look up his salary. Is it more than 12.4 million? Then no. The Boston Celtics cannot get that guy on a buyout. If it's less, then yes, the Celtics are able, if that player wants, to come in and sign for the minimum, right? So that's possible. Gordon Hayward, no. A couple of other guys that names are thrown out there that make more than 12.4 million? No, that's the answer. No. When it comes to Bruce Brown, he makes $20+ million. So it's hard for Boston to trade for him. You've got to match salaries, and Boston has to match him pretty closely. You're not going to get him at the trade deadline because you don't have enough salary to go get him. The only way to get him is to include one of the rotation guys. You're not going to give up Al Horford. You're not going to give up any of the starters. You're certainly not going to go do that for Bruce Brown. So during the season, no, Bruce Brown is not an option. After the season, hey, maybe. because it's possible, maybe, sort of, possibly, that the Celtics will have to move one of their big salaries. That's a next summer issue. I don't want to get into it too much right now because they still are chasing a championship here, and I don't want to go too deep into it. But to answer this particular question, it's possible that he gets moved. Bruce Brown, he could come to Boston if one of Boston's other big salaries ends up getting moved over the summer. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting summer. I don't want to ruin the chase for a title by getting into that. So those are the rules. Boston, another important rule, if you're doing fake trades, you cannot send 4 guys out. You can't stack O'Shea Brissett, Luke Kornet, Lamar Stevens, Shvi Mikhailuk. You can't take 4 or 5 guys, stack them up, and send them out for one guy, because the other team has to have the roster spots to accept that player, to all those players. So if you do 4 for 1, 5 for 1, you say it works in the trade machine. The other team has to have 5 open roster spots. They can't just take them and waive them. They have to have the roster spots to accept those players, have all those roster spots filled, and then they waive them. That's how it works. So you can't do 4 and 5 for 1 deals right now. That's not possible. So it's very limiting. The Celtics are over the second apron, right? So they can't do the buyout stuff. They aren't going to bring somebody in on like a flyer. They're not in a position to take whatever. So that's the limitations that the Boston Celtics face. Got it? I'm sure there'll be many more questions, but what I hope with that answer is that if you have a lot of these things brewing around your head, or they come across the internet or on Twitter or wherever, now you have these parameters. So you can plug a bunch of different players in there, but you know the rules now. So keep those rules in mind. And this way you'll know you can start telling people the same thing I just told you. Let's get to Ed, who says, here's a question about coaching, helping Tatum and Brown stake a claim to being the best duo in the NBA. Is it possible after Jokic and Murray beat the Celtics that Joe Mazzulla, Sam Cassell took the Jays aside and said that's what star duos do, and that they applied that to the win over the Mavs? Could there be a theme happening here? And so it's maybe, I don't know what they said, what was said to those guys, and I don't know if they took it to heart. I don't know if those guys just on their own said, there's a duo that's doing it, let's us do it, or it's just circumstance. I don't think a single game is going to make that much of a difference. I don't think they're going to look at each other and be like, oh, epiphany, like harps and sunbeams coming down out of the clouds. I don't think that's happening at all. I think, first of all, Jokic and Murray work because it's a center guard dynamic, right? They're 2 very different players. It's not easy to switch between those players, right? If you're guarding Jokic and you switch onto Murray, you can get cooked. If Murray's guy switches onto Jokic, you're definitely getting cooked. Jokic is a big man who loves to pass and is one of the best passers we have ever seen, regardless of position. Nevertheless, best big man passer. He is an incredible playmaker, one of the best ever. So that's what makes this work. It's difficult to just say, hey, look at Jokic and Murray. Hey, you guys just kind of do that stuff, because the Celtics have these guys are 2 ISO wings, tall ISO, big, strong wings that play more like they play better on their own than they do off of other people. And they're learning to get better at that. And we're seeing the best out of Jaylen Brown. And I do think they need to start playing together better, right? They need to play off of each other better. But we can't just say, hey, play like the Warriors, play like the Nuggets. It's not Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It's not Jokic and Murray. That's not who these guys are. They're Tatum and they're Brown. And I think one thing that we, you, me, I definitely do, have to get into our heads is Tatum and Brown, are not those other duos. They have to play differently. They can play better together. I still think there are pick and roll type of things that they can do, even though the switchability between those 2 their two defenders is there, and it's difficult. But there's more that those two can do to play off of each other. I think schematically, this is the challenge for Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff to figure out how to get these guys playing off of each other to create the mismatches. But it's with Porzingis on the team, with Derek White on the team, there are other places you can go to get a two-man game that works with those guys. I think the best way to maybe say like how these guys work together is either one of them can run a pick and roll with Porzingis. Either one of them can play off of Derek White and set a pick for Derek White or Drew Holiday for that matter. Like that's where they're interchangeable. You can run the same play with different looks, but kind of similar actions. So we have to adjust our expectations as much as Boston needs to kind of figure some things out to get them playing off of each other a little bit better. Up next, this team's IQ, the three-point shooting, and Jayson Tatum's clutch gene. That's all coming up in just a minute. Today's show is brought to you by Grammarly. Grammarly has been there to support writers for 10 years using AI technology that you can trust to help you across all the places where you write the most. I am a writer. I don't just talk for a living. My job is to write and cover the Celtics. I write columns. I try to get creative with my writing. I have, I believe, a unique kind of casual, very personable writing style. And sometimes I can get a little wordy or I can flow off onto tangents, and Grammarly helps keep me kind of together. It sees what I'm trying to write. It helps me clean it up. And with Grammarly, you can just, with one click, you can easily even brainstorm, rewrite, and work on your own replies with whatever you're working on based on your context and your goals. So this is, it's just good to have. It's almost like an editor embedded into my document for me, but it has bigger tools, more specific tools for whatever you're working on. I know different people write different ways and are writing reports. They're writing different things. The way you use Grammarly is not the same way I use Grammarly, but it's going to help you because when you're stuck writing, it can help you get started with ideas and outlines and even tips. Need to polish your writing? It can help you paraphrase and rewrite to be more concise. You need to get through your emails quicker. It can help you summarize your emails, provide suggestions on how to reply in seconds. So really helps you keep it tight. Go to Grammarly.com/podcast. Download for free today. That's Grammarly, Grammarly.com/podcast. It's free to use. So go check it out. Grammarly.com/podcast. Today's show also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy, made fun. It's very simple. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if you get it right, more or less than their projections, you win. So you pick 6 players. If you get all 6 right, they set the projections, more or less, you get them all, 25 times your money. So that's pretty good. So have fun playing daily fantasy sports. You can do combos. You can mix it with football or hockey or many, 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 many other sports on PrizePicks. Just have a little bit of fun with mixing the sports. There's a reboot policy. If you have a player that gets hurt in the first half, doesn't come back, player is rebooted. So you get insurance. It's the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. It's pretty cool. So go check it out. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA. Your first deposit up to $100 gets matched. They will match whatever you put in there up to $100. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's sports talk all day long, 24/7. Good, honest to goodness sports talk with all the big stories, all the big things that are going on. And you just go enjoy it because it's not people yelling at each other. It's not that crappy, fake arguing. It's fun. It's what Locked On is, what sports talk was meant to be. So go check it out 24/7 all the time, every time there on Locked On Sports Today. Let's get back to the mailbag. Aaron, we're going to put these together. Aaron says, sometimes I think this team's IQ, the shot IQ is really mediocre. Putting too much love on the three might come back and bite us. In the game against the Nuggets, Tatum and Brown kept putting up threes when they clearly know it's not their day. They have the physicality to rush to the paint and score, but sadly didn't make this decision. Dickie Smith says, I hope you can reflect on Joe Mazzulla and mentality of stressing the importance of threes. Again, referencing the Denver game. So I will say, look, obviously players can get caught up in shooting shots, especially when they're good looks and they're looks that these guys know that they can make. And I think sometimes if you're a competitive person, I'm a competitive person, when there's something that you know that you can do and it's not going your way, the letting it go is the opposite of what happens, right? Like, how many times, anybody that's watching, you are competitive and something goes wrong, right? 2-3 times. And you say, how many times do you actually say, I'm going to leave it? Or do you sit there and get frustrated and be like, damn it, no, I know this works. I'm going to do this. I know I can make this work. How many times have you done that? That's what these guys do sometimes. They get caught up in the, I know I'm making the shot. It feels good coming off my hands. It feels good. My legs are good. My shot, everything feels good. It's a good look. It's a catch and shoot. It's a wide open shot. This is a shot I should be taking and making. Now, sometimes you have all of that and it gets frustrating and the rim's out and it's just not your night. I got it. I'm not going to kill guys for getting frustrated sometimes and trying to make it work. Okay. But I understand that you have to have the discipline to let that go. But also, Joe Mazzulla isn't necessarily stressing 3-pointers in the way you think. He is not sitting there with a big 3 on the whiteboard and saying, guys, remember, we love 3-pointers. Take as many of them as you possibly can. No, he wants the Celtics to run good offense, take open shots. And very often, the good open shot is a 3-pointer, because when guys drive and kick and swing, it gets into the hands of somebody who is open from 3. And those are good shots. And there is math involved. The math tells us that 3 is incredibly more valuable than 2. And so, yeah, he does want 3-pointers because the league wants 3-pointers. That's how the league is going. So I get that this whole thing is, oh my God, I can't believe Mazzulla is so focused on 3-pointers. Like, the whole damn NBA is so focused on 3-pointers. That's what the NBA is. This is not unique to Joe Mazzulla. This is not unique to the Celtics. The whole damn league plays like this. This is what NBA basketball is. Recalibrate your expectations. Every team in the NBA, minus teams that have absolute crappy shooters, they're going to all take 35, 40, 50, sometimes 3-pointers. That's how it goes. And honestly, most of the time, the Celtics are taking good shots. I hate to tell you that. I know some people are frustrated, but most of the time, these guys are taking good shots. I agree that sometimes they maybe force it. And that's a process. That's something that they have to work on. But you also don't want to tear down their confidence either, because you need the confidence to keep shooting, right? Think of Jayson Tatum against Philly last year in Game 6, where everybody was saying, stop shooting threes. Stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then all of a sudden he gets on a freaking tear and he wins Game 6 by himself. That's what the confidence in keep shooting with confidence. That's what happens. Greg says, I'm convinced as long as Jayson Tatum is the Celtics' best player, they will not win a championship this year or any year. While he's very talented, inconsistency in play and lack of a clutch gene will continue to hurt the team. Disagree. This is me, I guess, disagreeing with a lot of people today. Disagree that he lacks the clutch gene. What are we talking about here? He had a bad finals, okay? A couple of seasons ago, we had a bad finals, right? At 23 years old, he had a bad NBA Finals. And that's where all of this started, right? Dan Shaughnessy wrote a piece in the Globe, and it's all just, it's a mess. But he's 23 years old in the NBA Finals, and he struggled against a team with championship experience, all right? Larry Bird won his first title at 24, and he averaged 15 points in the finals. So cut the guy a little bit of slack. This is what happens when a guy is 19 when he's drafted. The process takes a little while. But in the Jayson Tatum era, they are 5-2 in game sevens. 5-2 with Tatum as on the team. And so beyond the rookie year, but even the rookie year, they didn't have Kyrie and Hayward. Like those guys were hurt. Like Tatum was the guy, right? Last season, game 7, Philly at home, he had 51, right? I just talked about the game 6 where he had to take over. The year they went to the finals, Milwaukee, game 6, Celtics on the verge of elimination. He dropped 46. He's had monster performances. So I don't know about this lack of clutch gene. Is he missing late game shots? Like, yeah, he's missed late game shots. We've seen he's not hitting them this year. But don't tell me lack of clutch gene, right? This is crap. That's a crap argument. I don't buy it. So Jayson Tatum, can he be the best player on a championship team? Yeah, he can. Of course he can. And on top of it, he's got Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis on the team this year. So he's got a lot of help in case he's not the best player. So whatever. I'm fine. All right, let's come back. We'll talk about rivalries. We'll talk about Luke Kornet's shooting. We got a lot of questions about he's got a lot of questions here, and I'm going to run through them when I get back in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Hungryroot. Hungryroot is going to give you the easiest way to get fresh, high-quality food delivered to your door. Healthy groceries, simple recipes, all in one place. You go to hungryroot.com/lockedon. Not only will you get 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life, you take a fun, short quiz. They get to know you. They know your goals, what you like to eat, what kitchen appliances you like to use, all of that stuff. And then they start building with your preferences a cart with recipes and groceries that you need for the week. They'll recommend all of this stuff. You can take their suggestions, or you can say, nah, I'm going to go choose something else. Whatever it is, they got fresh produce, high-quality meat and seafood, pantry staples, healthy snacks and sweets, and much more. They go beyond your weekly grocery haul with thousands of easy recipes that actually put your groceries to good use, so they don't end up getting thrown out because they rot in the back of the fridge. Hungryroot follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole, trusted ingredients. So spend less time meal planning and shopping and cooking. Spend more time enjoying healthy food that you're actually going to love. Hungryroot is offering you 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life at hungryroot.com/lockedon. 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Hungryroot.com/lockedon. Don't forget to use our link because that's how they know we sent you. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I host on Wednesdays. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's show. There was a lot of craziness with the Terry Rozier trade and Adrian Griffin getting fired and officiating. So go check that out. Rotating hosts all week long. So it's a fun show. Whichever day you choose, just wherever you found this podcast, you can find that one. Back to the mailbag. Jacob says, are there any true rivalries for Tatum or Brown? I know there are comparisons with Luka, Booker, but is there anyone they outright can't stand whenever they cross paths? I don't know of any, to be honest with you. I don't know that there's any kind of animosity like that for anybody. I'm trying to think. Like there might be. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Honestly, I can't think of anything. If hop into the comment section, anybody, maybe you can point something out. Obviously, Tatum gets up for the big games against the big stars. Every player does, but I can't think of any like animosity where one of those guys sees somebody else like Maggie Simpson and the baby with the unibrow. There's no like vicious rivalries like that anywhere. Joe says, I admit I called for an upgrade over Kornet, but he's proved me wrong. However, I feel like he was a better 3-point shooter and gets open looks, but passes out. With Mazzulla being 3-point heavy, why doesn't he shoot? Well, he doesn't shoot because you want good shooters shooting. So he comes into the league. He took 79 3-pointers his rookie season, shot 35.5%. Not bad. 193 his second year, shot 36%. Pretty good. League average. And then he just lost his touch. His third year, 108 attempts, 28.7%. Then the next year, 25.5% and 59 attempts. He shot 9 of 36, 25% against with Boston, his first time around with the Celtics. And that's it. He's taken 18 since that in like 3 or 4 seasons. So you just can't shoot him. He doesn't like shooting them anymore. He warms up, he takes them, and he'll maybe someday he'll take 1 or 2. He's always good for like 3 or 4 a season. But look, just because Mazzulla says like 3-pointers are good and they want to take them doesn't mean that anybody on the floor can go run out there and just start shooting them with impunity. Like you still have to be able to make the shot. So, yeah. George says, when a former player shows up at a home game, do they only get a welcome back video once, or does it happen every time they return? Like, will Marcus Smart and both Williams get tribute videos every time they visit since they were staples of the team? No, just the first time, although I love the concept of running a Robert Williams tribute video every single time he's there. In fact, every single time he checks in, Robert Williams should get a tribute video because he is that awesome. They should just have him saying, when he was asked what his favorite holiday movie was, he said like the Halloween, like horror movies. He just thought Halloween's a holiday. That's a holiday movie. How can you not run a tribute video to that guy every single time he shows up? But no, they only do once. You come back, you get one, and that's it. You're the enemy after all of that. Harley asks, do you think any of the players that have been traded from the Celtics are holding grudges like Danilo Gallinari claimed to have? Seems like tensions were high with Brogdon and even Nesmith, and Grant seemed like they wanted to stay too. So guys will always like look for motivation somewhere, right? So if you get traded, it's very easy to be like, when you go back to that team, say, hey, you guys made a mistake. Let me show you what kind of mistake you made. Even guys who wanted out, they want to come back and be like, hey, look how awesome I am. You should have played me more or whatever. I'm going to say that everybody has some level of animosity because NBA players just, they look for motivation in every little corner of the world. Like anything they can find to be like, that's a slight against me. They'll take it and they'll use it. And that's it. So yeah, I think everybody has some level of a grudge. Some are more, some are bigger than others. I think Gallo really liked the Celtics and wanted, like, he thought this was actually a good thing. And sorry, like, that's how it goes. Zach says the show with Drew was awesome. Thank you, Drew Carter. If you missed the Drew Carter show, go back, look for it. It was good. We're getting into the fun questions now. This is like 3 more questions. We're getting a little fun, goofy. He says, looking like we hit the lotto with another play-by-play guy. One question, do you go by JK? Every time Drew said JK, I cringed. Maybe he knows you well. I've just never heard anyone call you that. People have called me JK. It's a common, it's my initials. I don't mind it. I don't mind JK. Most people call me Karalis. If my friends, because John is such a common name, I'm not a Jonathan. I'm John, or my Greek name is like Giannis. That's the same thing. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his English name is John Antetokounmpo. But, Giannis is a better, there's 2 versions in Greek. It's like Giannis or Ioannis. So it's like, kind of like their John or Jonathan. Mine starts with an Ioannis, and his is Giannis. Same thing, different version. But regardless, that's what I am. People call me JK sometimes. Not a big deal for me. That's, I don't know, not a big nickname guy. So haven't really had a lot of nicknames in my life. Steve says, my wife and I love Derek White. We always say, don't you just want to kiss that head? Bald heads, very kissable. Bald heads are extraordinarily kissable. Don't come up to me and just kiss my bald head like Porzingis did to Derek White. I don't want to be physically assaulted at the Garden. Some of you may ask if you can kiss my bald head. Chances are it's no, that you're going to get, it's a very kissable head, but it's reserved for only certain people. My wife might not like me saying, come kiss my head at the games. Come say hi, take a picture with me, shake my hand. That's where I draw the line. But I'm sure many of you have thought about, damn, that's a kissable dome. So back to Steve, who says, Kristaps Porzingis kissing his head. We thought that was one of the most beautiful moments in history. Not just how KP couldn't resist, but how White's face lit up. Just beautiful. Haven't heard commentary on this, but do we believe the tip-in in Game 6 last year in Miami unlocked something in him psychologically? That moment where Porzingis just reached down and was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Something that teammates can do to one another. Derek lighting up. I mean, I would have the same reaction if one of my teammates did that. It just goes to show, like, first of all, Porzingis is like the most fun-loving. He's just having the greatest time in Boston. It's amazing. The fact that moment happened is it's almost like a signature moment, because it came after a signature Derek White finish where he kind of had like little celebration on the floor, and Porzingis got caught up in it. It was so great. So great. Did that tip in unlock something in him psychologically? No, I think he was playing like this before that tip in, but I just think his confidence is through the roof. And I love it. I love the fact that he's come around to the fact that, yeah, he's not only an NBA player, but like one of the best NBA players, certainly a top 50 NBA player. So that's, yeah, I think that his confidence has just been, it's just been growing like crazy. Final one from Robert, who says, every dayer from Austria. Oh, hello, Austria. Love my international listeners. I think Steve, whose question I just read, was from Australia. He says, like you, I'm a big supporter of the NBA championship belt. I love the NBA championship belt. He says, I wonder what happens if the current leader does not qualify for the playoffs. Will the old belt be replaced? As the idea of the NBA championship belt has a very long tradition and is from utmost importance for everyone involved in basketball. I'm sure there are very clear rules in place. Yes. Much love from Vienna. Much love from New England here. Shout out to everybody listening internationally. The NBA belt is a regular season thing. The way I see it, the NBA belt, there's a champion finally crowned at the end of the season. The team that ends with the belt at the end of the season is the final NBA champ. That's it. You win. The playoffs, there's no belt. You are now fighting to win the belt at the end. It's like a Royal Rumble of sorts. It's like you are now entered into one massive tournament to then win the next belt that you take into next season. So the NBA belt, the 23-24 NBA belt, which for people who don't know the concept, it's the champion comes into the season with the belt. The Denver Nuggets came into the season with the belt, and every night you defend it like a boxing match or a wrestling match or MMA, a UFC fight, whatever. You lose, the next team wins the belt. So that's just, you track it throughout the rest of regular season. I'm tracking it on my Twitter. Last day of the regular season, whoever wins that last game gets the belt. That's it. You are the final last man standing NBA champ for the 23-24 season. The playoffs begin. That starts the tournament. What is it? King of the Ring or whatever you want to call it. That's the tournament that crowns the NBA champion, and that NBA champion gets the next NBA belt. So that's it. So that's, yeah. So if the Celtics, I don't care who has the belt at the end. So if it's the Hornets, whatever. if the Celtics win the championship, they now have the belt. They come into next season with the belt, and we track a whole new thing. It's a regular season thing, which I love doing. Follow me on Twitter, John_Karalis, and I enjoy it. Hope you do too. Hope you enjoyed this podcast because I enjoy doing it. I do it Monday through Friday and on weekends whenever they play. I podcast after every game, so make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcast. You can follow me and get notified when I drop a podcast, whatever. Just get in there. You everydayers, Monday through Friday listeners, I love you. Now I would love for you to share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.